Welcome back to the Nightlife Podcast, Season 3, Episode 24. Yes, it is. We have just one more to go. Guys, I don't want to waste much of your time as I don't want to waste much of my guests' time today. So I don't want to, keep you guys waiting. I just want to bring him right along and we're going to dive right into this interview. Nico.
Hey, how are you?
How are you, my man? Nicolas Hoyos from White Feather here in Miami. And for you guys that don't know what White Feather is, Pluma Blanca, they're our hospitality group, correct? And they're better known for, now they're better known for El Patio. But I would love for Nico to tell you a little bit about, the venues that you've been involved with, a little bit of the trajectory or where you guys are at today.
Hey, how you doing? Well, I don't know how back you want to go.
No. I mean, ideally, bro, you're a piece of history in the city and outside. So when it comes to nightlife, I know a lot of people want to hear about Macondo days and whatever the beginning was. I don't even think I know what the beginning really was.
Well, actually, I started. My first club was in 1991 in Bogota. When electronic music was just starting in Colombia.
Okay.
And I opened the first club. It was called Floristeria.
Okay.
And I opened with my partner. His name is...
A lot of hair back then, I suppose.
Of course. Hair, skinny. The good old days.
There you go.
I remember that I that's when the year I graduated from school, and I started studying law at the Universidad de los Andes, and I opened this. It was a really big venue, and I used to work at the bar. My girlfriend at the time, she used to work at the bar. My partner was the DJ. Friends, and it was really nice.
So as Andres Lopez used to put it, the comedian, Generation X, open a bar.
And that was my first club experience. Then I had a few more in Colombia, and my first one in Miami was around 2003 with Macondo, which was a Colombian restaurant dinner party type event in South Beach, which at that time South Beach was a really nice place to be.
Right, South on 7th, when 7th Street was the thing, no?
It's on 5th.
5th, okay.
565 Washington Avenue.
There you go.
Yeah. And we started there, and I don't know, like for people that are starting, I think that I had a lot of help when Macondo was going to be born. And I remember coming to Miami and trying to open a venue. We were maybe one of the first two Colombian venues to open at a big stage like South Beach at the time. Right. And I remember that my attorney called me and said that he found a venue that if I wanted to look at it. At that time, Fifth Avenue, that block was the worst block in South Beach. It used to be a really nice block, but it then turned into a really crappy one.
Right.
But the space for me had a lot of potential. So I remember that we had a meeting with the owner and his attorney and my attorney. And when you were coming from Colombia to open a venue here in the States, it was extremely expensive.
Right.
You could open a bar in Bogota at that time with, I don't know, $10,000. And the equivalent in Miami would have been $300,000. So that was something that was extremely expensive for us.
Right.
And the terms of the lease were extremely expensive. And so at the end of the meeting, I thought, there's nothing I can do here.
Right. By the way, at this time, Nico, I'm sorry to interrupt, but at this time, you start to become one of our competitions in a way.
Yeah, of course.
And to be honest with you, at that time, I was like, South Beach on that street, hell no, they're not gonna make that. Like at the beginning, yeah.
With Yahe, you guys came.
Right.
Came after with Yahe.
Right.
And I remember that my wife at the time, she said, call the guy directly and let's get a meeting without the attorneys, and let's talk to him and be honest with them. And I said, and I was like scared, and he said, what do you have to lose? And I said, well, nothing. So I called the guy up. This was an old guy. He's a sweetheart. Was a sweetheart. He passed away a few years ago, and he didn't understand what was going on, why I was calling him and as his attorney. And he was really nice. And he said, well, why don't you come over to my house and we'll talk. So we went there, and in short, he said, he gave me a paper and a pen, and he said, write your wish list. And I remember that I sat down and I said, I want you to give me $150,000. I don't want to pay rent for a year. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And I gave him the paper, and he laughed. And he started, yes, 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 yes. I won't give you a year, I'll give you 6 months. Yes. And we signed the lease. I went back to Colombia. 30 days later, I was in Miami starting construction. 1 month later, I was open.
Wow. And by the way, for those of you not from Miami, Macondo was a big deal over there. As a matter of fact, I think basically revived that street, at least for the locals, because it was one of the issues. It became, South Beach became a tourist trap pretty much. Yeah. And at that area right there for us locals, it just changed. And it was not the only place that you had on that street in the end.
Yeah. Then I opened Soy, which I sold. And then from there, I jumped to Brickell, and I opened the first Baru.
Right, which is where probably this era of people recognize you the most from is more the Baru days, and now at Wynwood, creating a new destination area. I was telling you off camera that a few years back we had a conversation, and you told me we should all come together to a new area. And all bring our venues, where rent is a little cheaper, but we can all create the destination. You want competition around you that is competing, healthy competition. Let's just put it that way. Not trying to draw itself down, but work together. And at that time, we were talking about the downtown area. Although it ended up happening in Wynwood. You ended up being. I think you were the first in Wynwood, no?
We were one of the first. And about what you were saying, I've been trying for years to develop the downtown. It's been extremely hard. We could never get a group of entrepreneurs and people of the industry to join and go and do it. So there's a building which was the first post office of Miami, which in my opinion is one of the most beautiful buildings in Miami. It's a building from 1900. And I've been trying to do something there for the past 8 years. Eventually, the building has changed hands, and it was bought by a group called Istanbul. They're these guys from Venezuela, which are pretty cool, and they think out of the box. And I met with them, and they said, we would like you to open a venue in the attic, in the last floor. And I said, I think that's really cool. But I think that's the solution, or that can work. I think what we need to do, and what I've been trying to do, is a cluster of entertainment within the downtown. Because if you're an isolated bar, it's very hard to pull the crowd and to pull the people. Right. But if you have a cluster of 6, 7 venues within a very short distance, right, it's viable that it works. And I told them, let me come up with a few concepts for the entire building, and we'll go from there. So we came up with my company, which is White Feather, my partner Catalina, which you've interviewed before, right, and my partner who is Beto, which I think you also know. Yeah. And we developed these 6 concepts for the building, and they loved it. And we started this project 2 years ago, and we're almost finished with the attic, which is called, which is a high-end Latin bar, right, and it's inspired in El Pavo Real, the bird. It's The Peacock.
So by the way, that's another thing I want to get into after when you're done with the describing all these concepts is you and Beto, the two of you, like you guys are seriously creative, you know, and I think that has a lot to do with the success that you guys have had in all the venues, the ones that you are still in, and the ones that you're not part of anymore that continue to be out there. And it's just that is thinking outside the box, creating new concepts that are completely different from what people are expecting. And I'm not talking about the music alone, but it is part of it. You know that music wise, you go in a different route than the usual and you know mainstream. But when it comes to the creative side, where are you guys getting all this? You know, pavo real. I mean, for example.
Usually, my ideas come from traveling, and I travel a lot, and that's my passion. And in my travels, what I do is I go to restaurants and bars and clubs, and I'm always looking at new ideas, new venues, you know, not only in the concept but also in decoration and food and cocktails and marketing, what they're doing. So it's usually ideas come from living experiences someplace else and trying to bring them to where you are. Mm-hmm. And with Beto, for people that are getting in the industry or they know or they want to, I think that one of the key elements and one of the hardest to accomplish is the partnership. So after I built Baru and we did 5 venues and I sold it, I created this new company called White Feather, and I invited and convinced Catalina and Beto to join this new venture. And each one of us has a purpose and has a know-how in different aspects. For instance, Catalina is the best operator that I know. And Catalina started with me in Macondo.
Right.
She used to be a waitress in Macondo. Then she studied a bunch of stuff, and she became a rock star. And for me to be able to go from 1 Baru to 5 Barus was thanks to Catalina. Because you need someone that has the skills to operate so you can develop. And Beto is one of the most creative guys on the planet, besides being one of the best mixologists that I know. And we've been friends for many, many years. So that's why we came together.
Right. So you're all each a piece of the puzzle, basically. You need, to complement each other.
And what I do, I come up with concepts, and I'm the one that brings the opportunities to the table. I'm always out there looking at new spaces, looking at new venues, trying to create and do the negotiations and bringing in the investors.
That's what I was going to ask. Are you always, working OPP, with other people's OPM? I mean, other people's money. Are you usually you guys invest yourselves? I don't want to get too much into the business side, but
I think that we don't put money into the operations, because what we bring on the table is the know-how.
Correct.
And we bring the not only the know-how, we bring the concept, and we're certified. We have a track record that show results.
Correct.
We manage our companies and the venues that we run. The back part of in the front, it can look like a total disaster, like mayhem. But in the back, it's a very corporate procedure. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people fail in this business is once they think it's very easy, and it's not. It's quite difficult.
They want to run the back like they run the front.
Exactly. They try to run it like we say in Colombia, like a tienda. You buy, and that's not the way to work. This is a
it's a business.
It's a business where each drop of alcohol counts, and so you're counting pennies, and this is a volume that you need to control it. So there's inventories are very important, controls are very important, your staff. And with any other business, I think that the most important or key factor for the success is the people that you surround yourself with.
Right. You know, Nico, that I'm actually right now. I don't know if you've seen that I have a few courses, and I built a online business that is called Nightlife University, and I have courses in different areas of the industry. But I'm building a membership now that is actually out there to help people that are in the industry or that are not, that think that they want to open a bar or a business, whatever, and guide them in the right direction and all the things. And you mentioned one thing that I always talk about is the money part. I also don't like investing when I am putting in the know-how. The partnerships that I've had, which has been around 10 different venues here locally, has been always doing the know-how, except for 3 occasions where we ended up putting money, and those in those 3 instances has been the negative, the ones,
I know.
and for different reasons, and one of them is, they want you to put money, but they also want to run it, and they're not the ones that know how to run it, and you end up doing things by vote that shouldn't have been done, and you're and it's just that, it's just finding the right investors that trust you to make the decisions. That's the one that has the success story behind it.
The investors, there's a very easy example of how you can explain this to investors. For instance, if you're going to invest in general terms, to open a club, bar, restaurant in Miami at a certain standard, talking about 5,000 square feet, you're looking between, depending on how high end or low end you're going to go, and depending on permits, but you can ballpark it between 1 million and 1.5. So you ask your investor, do you rather invest $1 million in this concept with an operator that has no idea what they're doing? Or do you want to invest $1 million with a certified operator, which has a track record that can give you money? It's like you cannot make it a bet, black and red. Right. You have to. If you're betting on one side, you're leaving it to chance. If you put it on the other side, although there are no guarantees whatsoever, and I always explain this to my investors. Listen, I have a checklist for success,
right?
And I also go down my checklist, and the location, concept, decoration, staff, price point, etc. And there's always parking. Everything goes into this list, and at the end there's an X. That's the X factor, which is something you cannot check. Either you hit it or you don't hit it. It's a hit or miss. But if your checklist is checked, the probability of being successful is extremely high.
Right.
If you don't, that's where you make a mistake. So usually the smart investors, or the investors that you're looking for, are those that understand that they don't understand the business, so they let you run the business too, and those are the ones who recognize the know-how as an important contribution to the concept. And then they also need to understand that just because they're bringing in the money doesn't mean that they get 90% and you get 10%.
Right. And
then comes how good you're at negotiating, how you go.
Right, and I understand that's going to be different in every occasion. That's 100%. Depending on the investment size, depending on the know-how. There's many things, but there is a question there as to, there's usually an issue with what is more important, and that is why most, the times that I've had an issue with, I'm working on a deal and I'm building something. There was one that I was working for 2 years. And after 2 years, they backed up completely. Backed up meant on my side of the equation, and they decided to go a different route. Disaster, never opened. They didn't have the contacts, number one. That's the first thing right away. But the point is, the discussion is out there always between investing side and the know-how, and the operating side, or the marketing side even, because my partnerships have been on those 2 sides, on the operating and on the marketing alone. But as to what is more important, and the way I see it is, you need them both.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm not giving value to the money, but there's a reason that you're thinking about giving me the money, and it's because you most likely don't know what you're
There's
doing, you know?
Both of them are extremely important, but in what we do,
Right.
first the power of the idea. Okay, so the concept, whatever you create, then how you organize it, and then how that you're able to execute it. Because a lot of people come up with great ideas, but they have no idea how to execute it. They
Right.
go from idea to the creation to opening day. It can be extremely difficult, or it can be extremely easy. Sometimes some venues, they're like boom, it just flows. For instance, for El Patio, I remember we were working on a concept for Calle 8 with a concept, and they called me on a Sunday morning, a friend, and they said, listen, there's a space available in Wynwood. Would you like to see it? I always say yes to everything. So because you never know.
Right.
You have to go and check it out, and 99% of the times it goes nowhere.
And there's no worse feeling than saying no and then somebody else taking it and being a success.
And I remember I went there on a Sunday morning. I just went in, and as soon as I walked in, I froze and I said, "Dear God." And I remember picking up the phone immediately and calling Catalina and Beto, and I said, "You have to come." I think I was with Beto, I don't remember. And we called Catalina and said, "You have to come now." And she said, "Nico, but it's Sunday, 10 a.m. I don't care. You need to come now." And it was really fast because they already had 2 offers in. This was on a Sunday, and they were making a decision on Wednesday.
Wow.
So when Catalina came and she saw it, she said, "Oh my God, now I understand." And we send the proposal. We send our proposal on Monday morning, and then we had to scramble and call everybody that we knew to try to get the money for Wednesday. We had 48 hours to come up with the. Not only that, we needed to create an entire concept, build a business plan, and go out and sell it in 48 hours to try to get the. And
okay, so wait. So El Patio, when you fall in love with the venue, you did not have the concept ready before.
We didn't have the concept. We didn't have anything, and we had 48 hours to execute.
Wow. Did it look like what it is already, or like?
No, actually, El Patio was not called El Patio. We came up when we went out to sell it. It was called Bomboni.
Okay.
So it was a concept based on rabbits.
Okay.
It was like Alice in Wonderland, with rabbit type stuff, and that's how we went out and sold it.
Okay.
And then to the investors, and then we got our investor, and during the process, after we won the bid for the space, we started working everything that needs to be done to create it. And I remember that I woke up one day, and I called my partners, and I told them, "No, it's not Bomboni. That's not the way to go." He said, "What are you talking about?" "No, it has to be called El Patio." He said, "Are you crazy? What are we going to tell the investor?" And he said, "He has to trust us. I mean, it's Bomboni. It's not the way. It has to be El Patio." And I explained my idea to them, and then I started bouncing off ideas with Beto, and El Patio was born. Yeah. Totally different to what we were doing. We already created a logo, a brand. We already designed the space. We had done everything, and I just woke up and I said, "No."
Is Bomboni something that may happen later, or did somebody already take over that idea?
No, we have. If you go to our webpage, which is whitefeathermgt.com, I think, we have all the venues that we've done, and we have a secret folder that's called Lobo El Aire. Like, remember that back? There was the helicopter that. Okay.
Right.
And that's like a secret icon that we have with Beto in our webpage of all the concepts that we have invented, and that we either haven't found a venue for them yet, or we started working on them and we couldn't do them, and they stay there, and eventually they pop up. For instance, now the one now that we're opening the 7 venues in downtown, a lot of them were in we have had thought of them before, and we adapted them to the new space.
Right. So the downtown location, you were saying that it's 7 different things in one. Is that what I heard right?
Yes.
Okay, so
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 as in the attic, it's called La Real, which is the high-end Latin bar. On the third floor, that which is the only floor that's not ours. It's from Biscayne Brewery. They're
mhm,
going to have their brewery there with a like a beer garden.
right,
Then on the second floor, we have a concept called Nomada, which is like a drinkery bazaar. You go in through a bazaar. We went to Morocco and we bought all the decoration over there. We brought it in a container. So it's like going into a market. You buy whatever you want. I mean, like since we have a full liquor license, you can buy a bottle of scotch or a bottle of wine or a bottle of tequila, whatever. And you're gonna have breads and uh, ham, cheeses, and that
right.
stuff. And then the area where you sit down is like a lounge, a Moroccan lounge. Then on the first floor, which is the ground level, we have three concepts. We have the lobby bar, which is like New York style bar, which is targeted to the offices and the courts in Miami, in downtown Miami, and it's going to function also as a lobby because now in the back of the building, our partners are building a hotel.
Yeah,
So we had to change the entire layout of the first floor in the basement in order to become the amenities of the new hotel that's coming and to make it work. So
right.
we have the lobby bar, and then we have another concept that we invented with Beto, which is called frutonomy. Um, and for instance, frutonomy, I don't drink. And I remember I was in Germany, and the pairing of the food in Germany a lot is beer. And I was thinking, how do they take alcohol out of the beer? I mean, that's like, I don't understand.
Right.
And I thought if they can take alcohol out of the beer, I think they should be able to take it out of the rest of the spirits.
Mm.
And after doing a lot of research, and Beto doesn't drink also, and we discovered a company that does it. So we have whiskey, tequila, gin, vodka, rum, all of it without alcohol, 0 calories and 0 alcohol. So we designed an entire non-alcoholic bar. It's like a juice bar, but it's not.
Right.
So venue it's imagine a little bit like Faena, but much more tropical. And it's a place. It's like a healthy bar because here in Miami you have both worlds, like the really party world and the really
Right.
healthy. So
Right.
we're trying to give this a try, and but it works exactly like a regular bar. It has a DJ. It has happy hour. And it's the same, just just in a non-alcoholic way. And next to it, we have another concept called Cabron, which it's two parts. The first floor has a taqueria, street food type taqueria. And once you go through the back and down the stairs, it's one of the few places in Miami that has a basement. And in the basement, you have the restaurant of Cabron, which, so you can understand it a little, it's like a Baoli, but Mexican. So
Yeah.
it's high-end. It's a very high-end restaurant. We just signed with one of the best Mexican chefs in the world. He's the owner and chef of Quintonil, which I believe came in 11 in Latin America in the world and 26 in the world. And he is absolutely out of this world. So he's our chef, and he's also the chef for Cabron upstairs. So
Right.
it's going to be Mexican with a very high-end but very fun Mexican flair, and it becomes a dinner party.
Wow. That's a lot. You know, the good thing is you are creating the destination that you once said, let's all get together and have
Yeah.
to do without having to need everybody else. Although I do hear that a lot of people are going into the area, myself included.
That's the idea. That's what I thought. Once you're in, everybody else will follow.
Yeah.
Because and the way I see it, Wynwood right now, although it's very successful and it's very popular. I don't know if you're aware, but before we had the COVID-19 pandemic start, we were having huge problems with the city of Miami regarding
The hours.
code hours and noise ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of that. And the reason that started is because developers are coming into the area. And what they want to do is convert Wynwood in a Brickell. So that's where the fight started. But like when we spoke many years before that, I was also trying to get people to go to downtown. I was also trying to organize to have an association, and that wasn't possible either. Now we have an association in Wynwood, which is a very strong association. It's called Wynwood Bar and Restaurant Association, and the strongest venues in Wynwood are part of it. And it was thanks to this association and the attorneys that we have that we were able to start a channel of communication with the Wynwood bid and with the city of Miami, right, in order to come to an agreement and to change the noise ordinance and make something that works for everybody.
Right.
But at the time, the real estate in Wynwood has become extremely expensive.
Right.
So it's very difficult to be successful if you're going to be working to pay your landlord.
Correct.
And the advantage that downtown has is it's already built. There's not that much residential. There's a lot of parking, and it's located right next to Brickell, where there's a lot of people with the income that you want. It's close to Wynwood. It's close to South Beach.
Right. And
I think it's beautiful. My dream is to make downtown Miami like what happened to downtown LA. I don't know. The downtown LA many years ago was exactly like Miami. It was ghost town.
Right.
After 5 p.m. And now it's one of the hippest neighborhoods in LA. It's downtown LA. So
it is what should be happening in every major city. You know, it is what it is. It's downtown, and it has that vibe. When you walk around the area, it just has that vibe. I mean, you're mentioning, for example, having areas underground and attics and buildings that you can't really change on the outside. That kind of stuff. It's nice. South Beach doesn't have that.
A lot of history that people don't know. It has a lot of history. It has a lot of magic. It's quite beautiful. It's very, very nice to walk the area. Yeah. And once all these venues start coming, actually my partners are also opening 2 blocks away a food hall, which some of the best chefs in the nation, and that's going to be fantastic. I mean, that's what we want for a city like Miami. Correct. Which I think like way over.
Yes, we are looking for more locations. Actually, closer to you. I'm probably 3 blocks away currently, and I'm looking, more, right there. Like you said, it's you build it and they will come. And we're all starting to come together. But before we go, Nico, I wanna touch on a subject you just mentioned. The COVID and all this craziness. You are home. That is weird. I mean, but
I think we're the only ones that are still like in timeout.
Seriously, it's weird. Yeah, it is. So, but the question is this: before it came, I already saw that there was some kind of evolution happening in the nightlife, and not like as many people put it. Some people are saying nightlife is disappearing, and I don't think that's the case. What I do see that is suffering is nightclubs. The way that nightclubs used to be, this closed room, super dark with the lights and the DJ playing hard and people sitting in a really small space and paying, huge amount of money for a little space and whatever amount of bottles that you would, real estate was super expensive inside the clubs. This new generation, I believe, has become a little more into the, let me, share a bottle of whatever, it could be wine, it could be some food to, pair with. They party during the day. Brunches are in demand, high demand. So a lot of things are changing, but I don't think it's going away. How do you see it? And how do you think COVID has accelerated that or helped in the fact that it is evolving? Or what do you think?
Well, what I think regarding obviously in the near future, like the real near future, we are submitted to social distancing, and we're going to open with a lot of restrictions, but eventually that's going to subside. And I think that human nature is social. People want to come together, and you see it by just looking at at social media. The post, everybody wants to go out. You see people gathering. You see people. Now the restaurants are working as clubs, and you see the people partying at the restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that eventually, by next year, everything is going to be back to normal. I don't think there are going to be major changes. I think everything is going to come back to exactly where it was. Regarding the club venues that you mentioned, what I've noticed worldwide, a tendency is the mega clubs are tending to come and become a smaller and smaller. It's easier to keep a smaller venue full.
Right.
It's less expensive to operate. So I think that the tendency is that the sizes may come down, but I think there's always a market for that dark, full of light, small space.
Right.
There's always going to be a market for that. But the tendency right now is smaller venues.
Right. Definitely. I agree. All right. So what are you guys doing? What, you're waiting? Everything is closed for you?
Yes. Yeah. We're still on hold. We haven't heard anything. Actually, the association sent a letter to both mayors, Miami-Dade and the city of Miami, asking when are we going to be able to open. Right. Because at some point we don't think it's fair that everybody's open and we're not.
And we don't get special treatment. There's not like a new, PPP for the nightlife industry.
No. And the issue here is, and I'm not going to go into the debate if it's right or wrong, or if it's too soon or not. But what I do think is that we all have the right to work, mm-hmm. and that what we want to tell the government and what we're trying to tell the mayors is that we deserve to open. Strip clubs are open. Yeah. Casinos are open. Everything is open except us.
It's like there's no trust in what we can do or how we can handle things or something. I don't know.
No sense. So what we're telling them is that we are ready to work, that we are a very big industry in Miami. We make millions of dollars, pay millions of dollars in taxes, and we hire thousands and thousands of people. Right. And the people come to Miami because it's an entertainment destination, and we are part of that
right.
allure brings the people. So what we're telling our city officials is, give us the rules of how you want us to operate, and we'll operate by those rules. That's what we're asking. Just
100%.
We can operate the same way restaurants operating, 50%, and we are putting up all the plexiglass everywhere, and we're putting tunnels with disinfectant, and we're putting the thermometers, and we're putting masks and signs, and everything is touchless. Right. Everything being put in place. And we've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars trying to putting our venues up to code for the new COVID restrictions, and still we have no answer from the government. Right. So we can open. So I think that we have the right to work like everybody else. I think that our staff has the right to work, and we can work. If our new reality for the next couple of months is that we have to operate at whatever percentage they determine it's viable. Like Dave said, there's no handbook on this.
Right.
Let's play it by ear. Let's see. Let's start small and let's start building it up. But we need to start.
Right.
We need to start, and we need to start now. It's not let's see later. No. If everybody's open and everybody knows what the dangers are and what are the precautions that you need to take, we can operate as any other venue and any other business in Miami with the restrictions, and go from there. But we need to open our doors, and we need to open our doors now.
Right. I'm with you 100%. Whatever you need me to sign, man, I'm in.
We already sent the letter from the association. We sent it the day before yesterday. So
hey, by the way, if you guys are, creating a new one for the downtown area, we're also in there. let us know. 100%. Sure. Together for sure, man. It's always you're stronger together for sure. Nico, it was really a pleasure having you here,
That
and bring
was
all your wisdom to the table. I know listeners are gonna enjoy this episode a lot. If you can give everybody your handles where they can find, White Feather and more information on you guys.
It's whitefeathermgt.com, or you can email me at nicolas@whitefeather.com. And my doors are always open. I help a lot of people. I answer all the questions. I think that there's always someone that helped me, and I'm willing to help anybody and everybody
Awesome.
with an idea, with whatever I can be helpful with. And I always do. My doors are open for everybody.
And I'm gonna take into account on that because I'm gonna have you as a guest speaker in the membership, 100%.
You can count.
Guys, so remember, you can find me on Instagram as the Nightlife Entrepreneur. You find all the episodes at nightlifepodcast.com, all the courses at nightlife.university, and see you guys next week.